and in today's lecture we are going to see the quadratic reciprocity law. So these are the points which we are going to discuss in today's lecture. So first of all we are going to see how to solve a quadratic congruence. Then we will define quadratic residue of a prime and quadratic non-residue of a prime. Then we will prove Euler's criterion and we'll also discuss some problems based on these things. So first of all, the quadratic reciprocity law deals with the solvability of a quadratic congruence. A quadratic congruence is like this: ax square plus bx plus c is congruent to 0 modulo p. Here we are considering modulo prime. So therefore we are going to start with the quadratic congruence like this, where p is a odd prime and a is not congruent to 0 mod 2 because this is quadratic, so a cannot be 0, and a and p, they are relatively prime. Now solving a quadratic congruence. Since p is an odd prime, therefore 4a and p, they are relatively prime because p is odd prime, 4a will be even number, so 4a and p, they will be relatively prime, and therefore we can multiply the congruence ax square plus bx plus c congruent to 0 modulo p by 4a, because 4a and p are relatively prime. So if I multiply this congruence by 4a, then there is no difference. So let's multiply with 4a, then we get this. So now we can use the identity. We have this identity: 4a into ax square plus bx plus c is equal to 2ax plus b whole square minus b square minus 4ac. So suppose this is first equation, then this is second, and this is third. Now from second and third, second is this 4a ax square plus bx plus c congruent to 0, and in third we are giving this formula. So let's just use this thing in second. We get 2ax plus b whole square congruent to b square minus 4ac mod p, because this will be congruent to 0 modulo p. So we get this. Now if we put y is equal to 2x plus b, suppose this 2x plus b is y and this b square minus 4ac is d, then this congruence becomes y square congruent to d modulo p. Let's name it as 4. So this is fourth congruence. Now thus if x is congruent to x naught modulo p is a solution of first. This is first congruence which is given to us. Now we are saying that if x is equal to x naught is a solution of first, then y is equal to 2a x naught plus b. This satisfies fourth because here y is 2ax plus b. So y is equal to 2ax naught plus b will satisfy this. And conversely, if y is equal to y naught is a solution of fourth, then 2ax is equal to y naught minus b. This will give a solution of first equation. Hence, the problem of finding a solution to the quadratic congruence 1 is equivalent to find the solution of a linear congruence, this linear congruence, and a quadratic congruence of this form, x square congruent to a modulo p. If p divides a, then the quadratic congruence 5 will have only a trivial solution. If this p divides a, then this will have only a trivial solution, because if p divides a, then under modulo p right hand side will be 0 and x square congruent to 0 will imply that x is congruent to 0. So only trivial solution will be there. So to avoid this condition, we are supposing that p does not divide a. So in the problems which we are going to have, we are supposing that p does not divide a to avoid this triviality. And by Lagrange's theorem we have already seen. So by Lagrange's theorem, the quadratic congruence 5 has exactly two solutions or no solution. This quadratic congruence 5, x, because this is a congruence of order 2. So by Lagrange's theorem, either it has two solutions or no solution. Let's see this example. We have to solve this quadratic congruence 5x square minus 6x plus 2 congruent to 0 modulo 13. Now, as explained earlier, let's solve y square is congruent to d modulo p, where your d is b square minus 4ac and y is 2ax plus b. This, the coefficient of x square is a, coefficient of x is b, and this is c, and this is p. So A is 5, B is minus 6 and C is 2 and B is 13. So let's find D. So D is B square minus 4AC, that means minus 6 square minus 4 into A, which is 5, into C, which is 2. So this is 36 minus 40, which is minus 4, and minus 4 is congruent to 9 modulo 13. Therefore Y square is congruent to 9 modulo 13. So if Y square is congruent to 9, then Y is congruent to plus minus 3, and minus 3 will be congruent to 10 modulo 13. So Y is 3 and 10 modulo 13. And thus when we take y congruent to 3, if y is congruent to 3, then y is equal to 2x plus b will be 3 equals to 2 into 5x plus minus 6, and this implies that 10x is congruent to 9, because 2 5s are 10. 10x is congruent to, this is 3 and this is minus 6, so 3 plus 6 will be 9, so 10x is congruent to 9 modulo 13. And if we take this y is congruent to 10, then 10x is congruent to 16 modulo 13. So from 10x congruent to 9, first one, this congruence, consider this. So from 10x congruent to 9 modulo 13, x is equal to 10 inverse into 9 modulo 13. So what is inverse of 10 under modulo 13? You can easily solve it by using reverse Euclidean algorithm. So inverse of 10 is 4. So 4 into 9 modulo 13 will be 36 modulo 13, which is congruent to 10. So x is congruent to 10 modulo 13. And if we take the second congruence, which is 10x congruent to 16 modulo 13, then we get x is congruent to 12 modulo 13. Now it is not difficult to see that this x is equal to 10 and 12 modulo 13, they satisfy these equations, and so the original quadratic congruence too. So this is the way we solve a quadratic congruence, and this is explained in this theorem. Now let's see this definition. Quadratic residue of a prime. Let P be an odd prime and A and P they are relatively prime if the quadratic congruence x square congruent to A modulo P has a solution, then A is said to be a quadratic residue of P. If this congruence x square congruent to A mod P, it has a solution, then A is said to be a quadratic residue of P. Otherwise, if it has no solution, then A is called a quadratic non-residue of P. If A is congruent to B modulo P, then A is a quadratic residue of P if and only if B is a quadratic residue of P, because A and B are congruent. So if A is a quadratic residue, then B is a quadratic residue, and if B is quadratic residue, then A is also a quadratic residue. Therefore, we need only to determine the quadratic character of those positive integers less than P to ascertain that of any integer. So we will consider only the integers which are less than P. Now let's see this example. Let P is 13. Find out how many of the integers 1 to 12 are quadratic residues of 13. Here we were saying that we only need to determine the quadratic character of those positive integers less than P. So here we are taking 1 to 12 only. So how many of these integers are quadratic residue of 13? Let's solve it. Now we know by definition that if the quadratic congruence x square congruent to A modulo P has a solution, then A is a quadratic residue of P. Thus, we must know which of the congruences are solvable when A runs through this set 1, 2, 3 up to 12. So, let's check the square of all these numbers in this set under modulo 13. So, 1 square is congruent to 1 and 12 square is also congruent to 1 modulo 13. 2 square congruent to 4 and 11 square is also congruent to 4 modulo 13. 3 square is same as 10 square congruent to 9 modulo 13. 4 square is same as 9 square congruent to 3 modulo 13. And 5 square is same as 8 square congruent to 12 modulo 13. And 6 square is same as 7 square, which is 10 modulo 13. Consequently, the quadratic residues of 13 are 1, 3, 4, 9, 12, 10. The quadratic residues of 13 are 1, 3, 4, 9, 10 and 12, and the non-residues are the numbers other than these numbers. So 2, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 11. They are quadratic non-residues. Let's read this note. The integers between 1 and 12 are divided equally among the quadratic residues and non-residues. So how many are the quadratic residues in this example? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 are the quadratic residues and 6 are the quadratic non-residues. So this is the observation that the quadratic residues and non-residues, they are divided equally. This is a general situation you can see in every example. Now this is the criteria for quadratic residue. The criteria was given by Euler's criteria. Let's see what does it say. Let P be odd prime and A and P are relatively prime. Then A is a quadratic residue of P if and only if A to the power P minus 1 by 2 congruent to 1 modulo P. We have to just check this, A to the power P minus 1 by 2. And if it is congruent to 1 modulo P, then we say that A is a quadratic residue of P. Let's prove it. Suppose that A is a quadratic residue of P, then x square is congruent to A modulo P has a solution. Suppose that the solution is x1. That means x1 square is congruent to A modulo P. Now, since A and P are relatively prime, then x1 and P will also be relatively prime. Because x1 square is congruent to A. So if A and P are relatively prime, then x1 and P will also be relatively prime. Now by Fermat's theorem, A to the power P minus 1 by 2 is congruent to x1 square, because A is congruent to x1 square. x1 square to the power P minus 1 by 2, and this 2 they can be cancelled. So this is congruent to x1 to the power P minus 1. And by Fermat's theorem, x1 to the power P minus 1 is congruent to 1 modulo P. So A to the power P minus 1 by 2 is congruent to 1 modulo P. Now converse. Suppose that this condition holds, A to the power P minus 1 by 2 is congruent to 1 modulo P holds. And let R be a primitive root of P. Then A can be written as R to the power K modulo P for some K lies between 1 to P minus 1. This implies that R to the power K into P minus 1 by 2 will be A to the power P minus 1 by 2. Take power P minus 1 by 2 on both the sides. So this is congruent to 1 modulo P. A to the power P minus 1 by 2 is congruent to 1 modulo P because this is given to us. Therefore, we have this. R to the power K into P minus 1 by 2 is congruent to 1. Therefore, the order of R, namely P minus 1, order of R is P minus 1. Therefore, the order of R must divide the exponent K into P minus 1 by 2, because R to the power K into P minus 1 by 2 is congruent to 1 modulo P. Therefore, order of R must divide this exponent. This implies that because order of R is dividing this K into P minus 1 by 2 and this P is odd, so P minus 1 is even, and if order of R, that is P minus 1, is dividing this, that means K is an even integer. Suppose that K is equal to 2 into J, and hence R to the power J whole square will be R to the power 2J, which is congruent to R to the power K and which is congruent to A modulo P. This implies that R to the power J is a solution of this congruence, x square congruent to A modulo P, because here we are having R to the power J is whole square congruent to A. That means R to the power J is a solution of this congruence, and hence A is a quadratic residue of P. So in this criteria, we have seen that if you have a prime P and A is relatively prime to P, then if this condition holds, that is A to the power P minus 1 by 2, if this is congruent to 1 modulo P, then we say that A is a quadratic residue of P. This is corollary. Let P be odd prime and A and P are relatively prime, then A is a quadratic residue or non-residue of P according to whether A to the power P minus 1 by 2 congruent to 1 modulo P or A to the power P minus 1 by 2 congruent to minus 1 by 2. So this thing we have seen, A to the power P minus 1 by 2 congruent to 1, that means A is a quadratic residue of P, and if it is congruent to minus 1, then A is a quadratic non-residue of P. Let's prove this corollary also. If P is an odd prime and A and P are relatively prime, then A to the power P minus 1 by 2 minus 1 multiplied by a to the power p minus 1 by 2 plus 1. So this will be equal to a to the power p minus 1 by 2 whole square, and 2 can be cancelled. So we have a to the power p minus 1 minus 1, and this is congruent to 0 modulo p, because by Fermat's theorem a to the power p minus 1 is congruent to 1 modulo p. So difference will be 0 modulo p, and hence either this thing is congruent to 0 or this thing is congruent to 0. Therefore either this is 0 or this is 0, but not both. Both cannot be 0. So either a to the power p minus 1 by 2 congruent to 1 modulo p, or a to the power p minus 1 by 2 congruent to minus 1 modulo p. If both the congruences is held simultaneously, then we would have 1 congruent to minus 1 modulo p, that is p divides 2, which is a contradiction because p is a odd prime. Now because a quadratic residue of p does not satisfy a to the power p minus 1 by 2 congruent to 1 modulo p, therefore it must satisfy a to the power p minus 1 by 2 congruent to minus 1 modulo p. So we have proved here that a is a quadratic residue if this condition holds, and non-residue if this. Let's see this example. Suppose p is 13. We have to verify that 2 is a quadratic non-residue of 13 and 3 is a quadratic residue of 13. So let's check what is 2 to the power 13 minus 1, that is p minus 1 by 2. So 13 minus 1 by 2 will be 12 upon 2, that is 6. So 2 to the power 6, which is 64, and 64 is congruent to 12 modulo 13, and this is congruent to minus 1 modulo 13, because 12 minus 13 will be minus 1. Therefore 2 is a quadratic non-residue of 13. And again let's check 3 to the power 13 minus 1 by 2 will be 3 to the power 6, which is 27 square, and this is congruent to 1 square because 27 is congruent to 1 modulo 13, and therefore this is 1 modulo 13. That means 3 is the quadratic residue of 13. We are using the corollary here. Let's solve these questions. We have to solve these quadratic congruences. So first is x square plus 7x plus 10 congruent to 0 modulo 11. So this a is 1, b is 7, and c is 10, and your p is 11. So y is equal to 2ax plus b will be 2x plus 7, and d is equal to b square minus 4ac will be 9. Therefore y square congruent to d is y square congruent to 9 modulo 11. That means y is plus minus 3 modulo 11. So minus 3 is congruent to it. Therefore y is 3, 8 modulo 11. So if I take 3, y is congruent to 3, then 2x plus 7 will be congruent to 3 modulo 11, and if I take 8, then 2x plus 7 congruent to 8 modulo 11. Therefore from this 2x is congruent to minus 4, so this implies that x is congruent to minus 2, and minus 2 is congruent to 9 modulo 11. Therefore x is congruent to 9 modulo 11. Now let's consider this one, 2x plus 7 congruent to 8 modulo 11. Then from here 2x is congruent to 1 modulo 11. So if I multiply by 5 on both the sides, I can multiply it by 5 because 5 and 11 are relatively prime. Therefore 10x is congruent to 5, and this implies that if I take under modulo 11, then this is minus 1. So minus x is congruent to 5 modulo 11, and this implies that x is congruent to minus 5. And minus 5 is congruent to 6 modulo 11. Therefore x is 6. And hence x is 9 and 6 modulo 11. Similarly, we can solve the second part, 3x square plus 9x plus 7 congruent to 0 modulo 13. Here a is 3, b is 9, and c is 7, and p is 13. So y is equal to 2x plus b will be 6x plus 9, and d is equal to b square minus 4ac will be minus 3. So y square is congruent to d will be y square congruent to minus 3, and minus 3 is congruent to 10 modulo 13, and 10 can be written as 10 plus 2 into 13 because under modulo 13 will be 10 only. So I can write 10 plus 2 into 13. So this is 36. We are doing this just to make square. So y square is congruent to 36. That means y is congruent to plus minus 6, and minus 6 is congruent to 7 modulo 13. So we have y congruent to 6 and 7 modulo 13. So if we take y is congruent to 6, then 6x plus 9, that is this, 2ax plus b congruent to y, that is 6. So 6x plus 9 is congruent to 6 modulo 13. This implies that 6x is congruent to minus 2, and that means if I multiply it by 2, to 12x is congruent to minus 4. That means x is congruent to minus 4, because under modulo 13, 12 will be minus 1. And that means x is congruent to 4. Therefore, x is congruent to 4 and 6 modulo 13.